Hi, this is Ajit and welcome to the Zenpreneur podcast. Today I have a wonderful man with me. His name is James Schramkos. He comes from Australia. You can catch him at superfastbusiness.com. James is a proof positive that you can take a solid offline business profit ideas and turn them into a powerful online business. Leaving a safety of a $300,000 a year general management role running Mercedes-Benz dealership in Sydney, James started his online career with just one affiliate product, earning only $49.25 commission per sale. But James really turned that business around into a six-figure business, starting a ton of masterminds, website development businesses, traffic businesses, and an online coaching community, and turned that business from six figures to over $1 million. Last I met James was at a presentation at our mastermind of Zenpreneur in Dominican Republic, and he presented this idea about content marketing, and it just completely blew my mind and a lot of other minds that were there at that private high-end coaching community. Today, James is going to show us something even better than content marketing. It's about how to really create a recurring income in your business, and while doing that, actually having the independence of time by only investing maybe like 20-25 hours a week, and still be able to generate a ton of profit and have that really nice cushion that allows your business to grow. One of the best things that we found in our businesses was when we started adding recurring income or subscription programs to our businesses that allowed us to have certain amount of certainty in revenue and profits that will get generated just because it was recurring business and subscription revenue. So definitely something that you should be implementing in your business. Today, James is not only going to take us through how to build a business around it, but he's going to give you examples on what you can immediately do in your business to have that income flowing for you. Welcome, James.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm a big fan of the recurring subscription model, because you get to reinvest that money into helping customers, and it's very rewarding for you, but it also provides better solutions for your customers.
Fantastic. What we are going to do is we are going to first have James really introduce himself, and we're going to switch over to slides because there's going to be a ton of diagrams and like stuff to make you really understand and sink in the idea of how to really create a recurring business for you. So we're going to flip over to slides so you can really get the whole meaning. All right, over to you, James.
Okay, so I've put together a little bit of background details that gives perhaps the context to make this all make sense. Are you ready? Now, I've always been an innovator. I was very early to start smoking. And no, in all seriousness, when I was working in a car dealership, I started my internet marketing adventure, and my first sale was a $49.25 commission as an affiliate, and I decided to repeat that. So I put a lot of effort into selling more and more affiliate commissions. But at $49.25, it really is a slow progress. Even if you sell 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, I managed to build that up to the point where I was making $10,000 a month, but it still wasn't even half my salary, which was an issue. So I had the affiliate marketing happening. My next step was to create a one-time information product. And by one time, I mean it was for sale and you pay an amount, and people got the product, and then that was it. So I had a customer, I got paid, but only once. And the product was relating to the affiliate marketing that I was doing. So they made sense, but they weren't getting me to the point that I could actually quit my job. So the next thing I did was I sold high-ticket done-for-you marketing services. By now, I'd started to get referrals from people who knew that I could build a website, and they were paying me a monthly fee. I went back to these customers and said, pay me a monthly fee, I'll do your marketing. So I actually had a recurring income. This is a high-price done-for-you service. And that combined with my affiliate marketing meant that I could finally hand back my keys to the company car and quit my job. So that was the turning point. And this was about 2.5 years into it. Now, after learning this lesson about the recurring high price ticket item, I could see the power in this recurring thing. So I developed this concept called Own the Race course, which is something that was sort of handed down to me from a mentor, that you want to own your own platform and you want to build a portfolio of things that generate revenue. It doesn't matter which horse wins on the day, but if you own the race course, then you always win because you're selling space to the hot dog stand and to the bookies and to the people coming to watch the race, and then you get entry fees from all the horses, so you always win. So my next maneuver was to build a community, and I'm going to cover that in more detail in a minute. The community was a smart thing to do, and this was really the glue that bound everything together. The next thing was to have a higher price community where I was doing mentoring. I just had a few mentoring customers who paid a much higher amount. They were more in the region of initially a couple of $1,000, and then towards the end I was getting up to that $5,000 and $6,000 per month, and then the next customer was coming in at $10,000 a month. But that's one-to-one, so it's a little bit of a strain, and I'm going to show you a better way how to do this. Then I built a paid mastermind, so where I combined all my high-level customers into one group. So it was my second community, but at a higher price than my original one. And you can see that all of these models are recurring because I really learnt my lesson. And then I created service businesses to serve these customers. They needed things like search engine optimization, and they needed content on an ongoing basis. So I just added more recurring models. And finally, I started promoting affiliate offers that were recurring. Things like email subscription services where people continue to pay forever and the commission keeps coming. I still get checks now from my early promotions of Aweber, for example. They send me a check every month. It's about $300 or $400, and that's been happening for 6 years or so. So when you combine all these recurring things, what it adds up to is freedom. And specifically, you get money freedom because you can extinguish debts. You have time freedom because the way that I'm going to show you how you can structure it works really well. And you get creative freedom. And I'm going to specifically show you why that's the case and how most people make a terrible mistake. Now, in the Zentrepreneur archives, there's already a great presentation that I did about leveraging your blog marketing. So that's something that you should go and watch to get an understanding of how the traffic comes and what the content marketing side of it might look like. But I'll touch on some of these things as well. So What we really want to dig into is how to build an ultra profitable recurring income business.
Before you get there, James, I just want to capture some of the points that you just made. I think that was a fascinating story, especially the part where you mentioned it took you 2.5 years before you could actually give the keys back and say, you know what, I'm done. I'm moving on to my own business. Because a lot of times people who are new entrepreneurs or even entrepreneurs who have done this for a while feel that the success should just show up, right? The moment you start a business, the next month you should be seeing money in the bank, and it doesn't really work out that way. And you need to keep going to be able to actually get that success. If I may ask, what was that thing that kept you going for those 2.5 years? Because it's a long time we're talking about. How did you keep yourself going for those 30-odd months?
Without any hint of arrogance, I was in a $300,000 a year general manager's role, and I had mastered selling, and I was a very good leader. I just figured that if people are making money online, then there's no logical reason why I can't. It was just a matter of persisting to try and find the right way to do it. And if you look back through a lot of the works of masters, this idea of recurring is there, but it's not so obvious. When people like Jay Abraham talk about it, he talks about it in terms of you can convert more of your prospects into customers, you can increase the dollar value that people buy. But importantly, and almost ignored and overlooked by most people, is this idea that you can increase the frequency. And when you focus, like I have, on recurring, you're lining every sale that you have up for frequency as a built-in component. And I'm going to show you what a difference that makes with some diagrams, etc.
That is fantastic. Also, taking the second point that you made very interestingly, which like you mentioned, even Jay Ibrahim mentions, and a lot of other masters mention, is how you stack your solutions. So the slide where you presented how you created the first product, which was a one-off information product, but then there was a mastermind, there was et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, which actually is something that people tend to forget. They get so attached to their front-end product that they feel that's it. I mean, that has all the information, that has everything that people can offer. When we started stacking on the products, that's where Mind Valley actually blew up and became a much bigger business. Last year, or last to last year, was our first ever recurring income business that we started. And it is insane the amount of comfort, recurring revenue can give to your business, because you don't have to worry about every month as to, like you said, the race course theory, right? If you own the race course, something's going to win. And if irrespective of what wins, you always win, which is absolutely fantastic. And which is why I would suggest everybody who's going on, now we're going to switch on to slides, and James going to actually walk us through how he created a recurring income business. I'm super excited and stoked to hear what you have to say, James.
Okay, so first let's cover three mistakes that I see most marketers making, and they're very common, so I think it's remiss if we don't. One of them is the launch mistake, and that's using promotional launches as a business model. It's possibly one of the most widespread mistakes being made. This is where businesses only do launches. The problem with this, it requires massive energy and it leaves a hangover. You know, it exhausts everything, and there's this slump afterwards. It's like a sugar rush. And you get this feast or famine cash flow. You've got all this money coming in and then nothing, which creates desperation and compromise. It also creates a surge and strain on customer support, and that can have huge implications for brand reputation. They can do a lot of damage to your brand if you bring in all these customers and you can't support them properly. Plus, it requires huge affiliate and team costs, such as your copywriter, your campaign manager. You've got prizes. You have to pay out affiliates. You've got refunds. Generally, you have a lot of refunds, and by a lot, my business runs at around 1% refunds, but I know the average launch business is probably in excess of 20%, and that's because they create a lot of pressure and coercion in the marketplace. And it leaves you, in some cases, a small profit. Even multi-million-dollar launches, the launch founder can end up with a very small cut of that. But the worst thing of all, now you owe your JV partners a launch promotion. And in my mind, that's a massive compromise. You have to direct your valuable customer away to other people's sales funnels on a regular basis, to everyone who's become a JV partner, because of this reciprocation that's been created. So that's mistake number one. Mistake number two is the wrong packaging mistake. And this is where you're just selling too many individual one-time purchase products or services. You have no real recurring strategy. It's very front-end loaded, or it's very single product purchase loaded, or you have one-time customers. And why this is a problem, it requires multiple sales pages, constant updating, segmented campaigns. There's a lot of confusion to the customer. They're not sure what you've got or what they should buy next, or they wonder why whatever you sold them last time wasn't enough and now they have to buy something else. And as a business owner or marketer, it diffuses your focus. You end up being confused and having to lose energy switching between your products and your brands. So for that reason, it really is a problem to have too many offerings in the marketplace. Now, the third one is customer focus mistake, and that is the widespread epidemic of obsessing over getting new customers. It's like everyone's forgotten that it requires a huge amount of energy for every customer that you acquire. You now need to get a really fast return on investment to break even, because you're going out there spending a lot of money acquiring customers. And by that I mean you're probably using some kind of combination of launches where you have a huge affiliate cut, You have affiliates, so you have to pay and market to, and you probably have paid traffic. So you need to break even quickly when you use that business model. And that kind of leads us to why you would want to build a recurring business. And I'm guessing you figured that it's going to solve a lot of these issues.
Just to capture what you just said, three very interesting and important points, and we have found the same things in our business. I mean, when we were doing launches like crazy, especially like the long-winded preparation of getting affiliates and all that kind of stuff, it took like a toll on the company. Our growth, we were still growing, but the growth rate percent was nowhere close to what we did when we kind of simplified all of that and all of those dependencies that get created because of using the launch model. Definitely that is something that people should step away from. And the last point that you make, it was such a breakthrough when we started focusing on our existing clients and our existing database and our existing people. That, like right now, it's so much so that if we do a webinar, 30 to 40% are people who are just recurring through, not even engaging through email lists. They are recurring through Facebook and stuff. So it's like they're the same clients, but they're coming from a different channel. And it's so exciting to see how you can monetize your existing client base so much better than actually trying to create a new client every time. It's painful and it's so much work.
Exactly. So this is why I like recurring. Specifically in my situation, you recall my first affiliate sale was a measly $49.25. These days, I'm willing to disclose that I'm earning in excess of $5,000 per day. Of that, 90% of that is recurring customers. So I don't have to do a hard sell. I don't have to get out there and cold call or do any of the things that we talked about as being a marketing problem. And I'm putting in around about a 25-hour week. And that's spread generally over 3 days. And the rest of the time, I'm living. But the good thing is it hasn't just worked for me. I can cite many examples. Kristen Thompson made $115,311 off her very first campaign after I helped her reorganize all of her individual products into one product. Ezra asked me to help him build smartmarketer.com, and we made it into a 7-figure business very quickly. Justin Brooke is working less and getting more done using this model as well. We took his products and put them into one place. And Ryan Spanger, he's got a service business and it's doubled because he's looking at this repeat sale situation. So if I were to put it in a simple metaphor, you sell once but you get recurring income. It's a lot like a locomotive. You get the initial energy happening. It will pull a lot of carriages with minimal effort for a long distance, and it doesn't require that much energy once you get going. And I love this metaphor because it sort of explains clearly why it's not an instant start. However, once you get it going, you'd have trouble stopping it, and that's the situation now. And this hasn't been a flash in the pan or just a 1-month wonder. My business has 6 figures of sales every single month for the last 4+ years. So it's very consistent. Besides that, it's just easier to market just a few offers. And I'm going to show you a diagram of what my business looks like in a minute. You actually need less resource to deal with the same customer over and over again than to get new ones. If you think about it, if you have one plant and you nurture that every day, it's easier than going and getting new plants every day and the old one dying. It's probably the difference between buying flowers at the florist versus buying a pot plant. You know, the pot plant's a little bit more expensive and you have to look after it, but it lasts forever versus the flowers which will just die in a fairly short time. But the thing I like most of all, it's predictable profit. You'll see people out there, they all get caught out. They get caught out because they do a big launch, they don't pay their tax, and then they have to do another big launch. Or they get caught out because they don't have enough money to pay for their staff and they have to let their staff go. Or their whole business model falls off a cliff because it's not addressing real problems with sustainable solutions. And some of the other things I like about it, if you were to set up a community, the member-contributed content can ease the workload in terms of what you have to deliver. where you have peer-to-peer contributions. That's almost having your customers creating the product, and I'll show you in a diagram what that looks like too in a second. And I'll do that when I explain what exactly is a subscription / continuity / recurring income business. I'm going to define that. So I would say it's a solution that gets provided over and over again. And a solution implies that you're solving a problem. I'll give you some examples. You can have a community membership. You could have professional done-for-you services. You could have software as a service. You could have one-on-one mentoring. You could have one-to-many coaching. A simple diagram of what my business might look like is this. I have my primary blog / podcast, and it feeds various revenue streams that are recurring. I have recurring services, recurring affiliate promotions, recurring mastermind, and recurring community. So that's my business on one page. That's the napkin or back of the beer coaster shot. And in case you're wondering, yes, I did draw that myself. I'm quite proud of it, actually. So should we move into how to build a business using the subscription model?
Definitely. Let's go there. Also, and I don't know if you're covering that, but we would love to see, because you showed 4 different ways, but I'm guessing the recurring parts are mostly the mastermind and the membership, or is the affiliate and the other part also recurring revenue? It's recurring because it's just sending more people to that offer, or it's actually services also, of course, is recurring, but the affiliate is not really recurring, right? Or you only
No, it
promote
is
recurring
recurring.
offers?
It's actually recurring, obviously from my illustration with the yellow circle being a recurring indicator. They're all recurring profit centers.
So
Would
you be able to walk us through as to what does it mean, like each one of them?
Yep.
Is it possible? We're going to cover that later. Am I jumping the gun here?
Yes and yes. But in short, I'm just going to make these distinctions. Most people don't think services can be recurring so much. However, they can. And you only have to think about your mobile phone or your credit card. There's oodles of examples where you're currently paying for services on a recurring basis. The key to making my services recurring was to find things that people need often, and I'll highlight that in a minute. It's about packaging time into service packages. Literally, a service business, you're really selling time if you have a high labor business. So I buy labor in bulk and I repackage it into recurring packages, literally call them packages. But the affiliate, it's recurring in 2 ways. One, I've set up automation to continually promote the affiliate programs using things such as triggered PSs in emails and automated follow-up sequences. And secondly, I'm promoting products that pay on a recurring basis. And I gave the illustration before of CRM systems. Generally, if you don't have a service or a product that's recurring of your own, you just find someone who does, who pays you on a recurring basis. My first foray into that was promoting someone else's forum, and they paid me a recurring commission. Now I get all sorts of, 6 figures a year of affiliate revenue. Most of it is from recurring programs that continually pay out rather than one-time promotions. That's the bulk of the things that I promote, more than 90%.
Fantastic. So let's get started on how to build a business using the subscription model, and let's get started.
And I'll give some specific examples. Let's talk about a services offer. I'm going to show you the components that you might want to put together to be able to create this. So this is going to be really useful if you already have a service but you're only selling one-time things. So the components you'll need a customer-facing support desk. So you're going to need somewhere where you can communicate with your customer ongoing, and email doesn't cut it. So that's why we use Zendesk. But you want a customer-facing support desk where they can continually have updates on the progress of their service that they purchase from you. You're going to want an internal project management system. That could be anything from Google Docs to Trello, Podio. There's so many solutions. Teamwork PM. It doesn't matter, but you need a project management system where your team or you, if you're unlucky enough to have to be doing the work yourself, will be actually doing the updates on the job once the jobs come in. You're going to need standard operating procedures, which if you think about them, they're more like train tracks. It's how the train rolls. When a job comes in, the standard operating procedures must be actioned in a specific sequence, and you're going to need a customer service delivery reporting. That's a way to update customers to show them evidence of work done and to fulfill on whatever they've purchased. And then I suggest you get a team to do the work rather than do it yourself. If you have these components, then you'll be able to deliver on a recurring service program. There's a couple of other steps, but I'm going to go through those in a moment. First, I want to switch across to the membership offer and talk about how that works. Now, many people in our community are authors. They've already got content of some kind, whether it's a slide deck, a book, a podcast, or whatever. The content is just one piece of the puzzle, though. A lot of people in our community are coaches. They might be coaching and they publish a book. And often the coaching might be one-to-one. It could be very unleveraged. But if you combine a third element, now you've got a community. You've got the community where you can pull the coaching and the content together. And that little sweet spot in the middle, that's your recurring profit center. So you could have, it doesn't matter what platform you use for your community, whether it's Facebook or vBulletin or Zenforo, or if it's a live meetup or a Skype call or whatever. Your coaching could be delivered via emails or live trainings or pre-done or chapterized. And your content, of course, could be tools or devices. And I'm going to show you one thing at the end of this presentation that should really resonate. And it's the most uncommon thinking that will greenlight your progression into creating a recurring income more than anything else. It's like just this big idea that most people miss, but I'll get there. But these three elements are going to create a sweet spot for you to sell a recurring membership. So let's talk about that, the practical application. I like action tracks. I think they're better than steps because you can roll smoothly along a track. So we're going to lay out some tracks that you can follow to get this up and running. Are you ready?
Yep, absolutely.
All right, so the first step is identify which recurring services your target audience is already consuming. They're already consuming. I could guarantee you your customers and my customers are already buying memberships and services and utilities and software on a recurring basis. That is a very simple scenario. You could survey them, you could observe them, you could see what you're using if you are your target audience. Make a list of it because you can either create that or you can affiliate with that. Next step, identify the results your target audience would like to experience. This is very important and it's going to overcome the biggest roadblock that people have with creating a recurring subscription because a lot of people think that you need to have a lot of things, but that is absolutely not true. The customer is only interested in the results. So think about what the results your customer would want. And the next step is to transition through to creating a membership offer aimed at your target audience, which solves their problems and helps them get that result. That's what your offer should be. If you were to write it down on one page, it's a solution that your target audience will appreciate, probably something they're already buying, and it will get them the result that they want. If you can hit that trifecta, you've got it. Then, of course, you drive traffic, and for that, I would refer you to the Zentrepreneur training on authority blog marketing that I've already delivered. It would reveal exactly how I do it. You would back-end any existing product or service you have. This has been one of the greatest strategies for me. I used to present from platform and sell a live training workshop for 2 days. And I would gift every person at the workshop 60 days membership to my community. And then they would stay on if they liked it. And that was a great way to get members selling off a higher priced item. Another way that we do it for services with my SEO services is a diagnostic audit. We actually charge people $20 to go and look at their website and give them a full report on what state it is in and how ready or prepared it is for SEO and what they should change before they invest any more. And we credit back that $20 on any purchase. And almost every SEO service we have is a recurring program. And at its peak, we were doing more than $1 million a year from that one product line. So this diagnostic audit is very effective, and it converts at over 50%. I suggest you have an authority content website on your own domain, preferably WordPress, and the full details of that are in my other presentation. And absolutely get a podcast going on iTunes, because it's a great platform. Everyone's available to you with their smart device, and it pushes notifications automatically if they're synchronized to your show. And I'm getting somewhere around 65,000 downloads a month with my podcasts, so I can highly recommend it. It's my prime traffic source.
That is fantastic. Would you mind sharing the name of your podcast? Is it Super Fast Business?
Yeah, I actually have 5.
Maybe you want to tell people about it, yeah.
Yeah, superfastbusiness.com is my primary one, but I also have thinkactget.com with Ezra. Mm-hmm. I've got Sales Marketing Profit with Taki Moore. I have Freedom Ocean with Timbo, and I have Kicking Back with Joel Osborne. So there's 5 different podcasts, 5 different premises, different audiences. A lot of my customers listen to 2 or 3, but I'm able to reach a wide market. In terms of workload, it's insignificant. To do 5 podcasts a week, I would need to spend around about 2 to 3 hours of actual talking on a microphone, and then I put that into Dropbox and my team takes over. And I published the whole course on how that happens from superfastbusiness.com. You can actually download it for free. So it's a great way to get traffic. And
fantastic. And
it's super leveraged.
And each of your podcasts is like 30 minutes or an hour?
Some of them are 25 minutes. Some of them go for over an hour. It's the length is not important. The show premise is very important. So
fantastic. And people can go get it at superfastbusiness.com right now. Is it? For free. All right. Thank you, Jim.
For free.
Yep.
So if you want to do your paid traffic, absolutely. Facebook's pretty good these days. But, of course, you've got remarketing, you've got AdWords, and you've got affiliates, you've got banners, there's emails, all the good stuff if you want to do it. Webinars work really well for getting those people across the line. I know several people are selling recurring memberships from just webinars and live events. And one of my friends is doing a couple of $1 million a year, really just from webinars. Affiliates and joint ventures, of course, if you want to do list swaps or cross-promote. I know many people in our community are very good speakers. Speaking from platform is a great way to sell memberships because it's a high-touch medium. And, of course, publishing books. It builds up your authority. Majority of my customers are experts, coaches, authors, and people who are known in their field, and they set up a membership and people belong to the membership and their business transforms. Here's what you need to focus on: retention. When you're getting paid recurring, your goal is to continually have someone stick around. And in my case, I have a very good retention rate. It's, I've been going for 6 years and I still have the greater majority of my customers, which is unheard of when you consider that people quote industry rates like a 3-month stick rate. They're doing it wrong. And I'll show you why they're doing it wrong if they're only getting customers for 3 months. One is you can do weekly news updates. This is counterintuitive because most people have this idea with recurring memberships, well, we'll just bill monthly. Hopefully the customer won't notice it on the credit card and they'll stick around until they remember. Well, weekly news is counterintuitive because it means that 4 times a month you're reminding someone that they're subscribing to you. However, if I can help someone consume my information, if I can engage them to come into the community and get involved, if I can draw them in with a long line fishing line, which is a weekly news update, it's basically like long line fishing. I've got 10 hooks on it, 10 different topics that are being discussed in the community. People click on that and come back into the community to get involved in the discussion. They're not going anywhere. So having something coming is a great technique. Always have something coming. I have live masterminds each month, so there's always that coming around the corner. We have events that come up once a year, so we start to anticipate it and build up excitement about it. And we have local meetups, so there's always a local meetup happening in a major regional area. And I add courses, so, something like this training, for example, I would add to my membership, and members will be able to enjoy that and get a lead on the market, so they get it earlier than it goes out to the public. But here's the thing, you just have to focus on getting results for your customers, whether it's a service, whether it's software, whether it is a membership, it doesn't matter. The name of the game with a recurring business is to get results for your customers, because if you can do that, they're going to stick around. Now, if we've got time, I've got a couple of extra bonus tips.
Of course, I think people are going to love it.
Okay, these are just a few distinctions that I think might help. One is choose higher price points. My first recurring membership or program was $6,000 a month. And to put that in context, the info marketing product that I was selling at the time, I was selling for around $79. So it was almost 10 times as expensive. And instead of one time, it was recurring. But here's an interesting fact. From 2008, I think, when I started that, I still have the same two customers. And here we are in 2014. That's 6 years times 2 times $6,000 per month. Someone smarter than me can probably work that out. It's a lot of money. And that's why high price points are the way to go. And someone's going to think, oh my goodness, what would you have to offer? How much stuff would you have to offer for a high price point? Well, it's not about stuff, and I'll cover that in a sec. Another great tip if you're starting a recurring subscription is to use a loyalty lock-in. And that is when you join up your first batch of members, because they're taking a risk on you and because it's new for you, give them a lower rate. And then immediately after, say, 30 days, increase the rate to the public, but lock in all the old members, grandfather them at the founder's rate, the lower rate. And now your entire membership has a discount to market rate that will each month be a reminder to them that it's worth staying, because if they were to leave and come back, it would cost more. And this has a huge psychological effect. As you increase your price 2 or 3 times, you'll now have members who might be 20 or 30 or 40% lower rates than brand new members, and they will stick around forever. And that's how you keep members for 5 years or 6 years, if you have a loyalty lock-in. If you do a trial period, and I suggest you only do it for qualified customers, as in people who have already paid you money, not cold traffic from the internet, paying customers. If you have paying customers, then you could do a 60-day free trial period, but it should be optional forced continuity, and that's a lot of words, so I'll just explain what that means. It's optional. They don't have to take the forced continuity, but to get the 60-day trial, they need to. So don't automatically enroll people into this 60-day trial. They have to register themselves. That's the optional part. But the forced continuity means that to get 60 days, they have to agree that on day 61, you will start billing them. And there are certain things you need to do to make this pay off. And that one of these I'll share now. Obviously, we're limited as to how deep we can go into this. One of them is to have an autoresponder sequence that clearly warns them prior to billing. And this is going to avoid you having the embarrassment of having a rash of chargebacks or hostile customers claiming you've billed them without permission, because 60 days is long enough for them to forget that they agreed to this in the beginning. So you have to be very clear on the sign-up page, and you have to be really clear prior to the billing attempt that you are going to bill them in a few days. And if they would like to leave, then they should just reply back and let you know. If they'd like to stick around, do nothing, it'll just start billing. And that's one tip that I can share here.
Okay, that's fantastic. That's a great idea.
The biggest tip of all, right? This is the one that just gets people confused. It's not about stuff. It's about results, okay? People think, oh, I've got to put all this stuff in the community. I've got to start this community with 100 videos or whatever. It'll take them a year till they get ready. The customer doesn't care. If you think about it, in our life now, we're already busy. We already have too much stuff. It's about what can you take away for the customer so that you can only give them the stuff they need. In my communities, I focus on removing distractions, removing stuff. My customer will end up as a locomotive with very clear tracks to the next station and nothing else. That's what we focus on. And guess what? They get to the station because they're not distracted, they're not confused, they're not trying to lug a whole bunch of stuff they don't need. Nobody wants to sit down and watch 100 videos. So stop thinking that that's the goal. It's about results. If your customer gets a result in excess of what they invest with you, they'll stick around. And that applies for service, it applies for a community, it applies to software. Keep it to the minimum. Ideally, you would have to do nothing and get a result. And that sells really well if you look out in the marketplace. So if you can figure out a way to deliver a fantastic result with the least amount of things, then that's the goal.
That's fantastic. Some of the key takeaways of what you've already said would be, don't worry about how much stuff people are getting. Just more focus on what is it that they need as a solution and provide that with results, and communicate often. I think once people get that, these two things at least were a big takeaway for me, because a lot of our continuities that we have has a lot of stuff in there. But that's just the way we built it. And I can see what you mean here by saying, well, what if we just focused on the results, just really engaged with the audience and said, okay, what is it that you want? Let's look at your problems and let's just solve them and take it from there. I think that's a fantastic idea. And I do see a lot of people doing not really communicating enough. Yeah.
If you put less stuff in your offering and you have a higher frequency of contact, people will get significantly better results because they're now no longer sitting there wondering what the hell they should be doing, getting confused by it all and never hearing from you, to like constant help and support. If the tracks are there, it's very easy to say, well, are you on track? Are there any logs on the track? How fast are you rolling down the track? Like everything's there. It's easy.
So,
James, more tips.
Just a question, so we can just kind of summarize what we talked about. So when you say you're rolling on a track, does that mean that your continuity or your subscription is structured in a way that it's step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and it keeps going on? Or is it more like, here is a solution for X, and here's a solution for Y, and here's a solution for Z? How do you really structure that continuity?
The idea of tracks is that you plan the next station. Most entrepreneurs fail because they don't even know where they're going. They're like a car in the desert. They steer left, they steer right, they accelerate, they brake, they turn, they stop, they want to change. They've got no idea what they're doing. If I sit down and plan, let's take a mastermind, for example. I do a diagnostic audit. I find out where my customer is at right now. I find out what a good solution for them might be by a process of diagnostic questions. We agree on the destination. We make sure that it looks good. We actually mentally walk around that new destination. We say, right, is this where you want to be? Because that's the other problem. People get somewhere and they don't like it. So we pre-do that bit. And then we walk back from that station all the way back down to where the train is at right now, and we build the tracks in between, and then we get rolling. And that's how we get very fast results. So I literally have tracks in my mastermind, which are modular. Do this, and then this, and then this. And when they finish that, they get the result. It's actually a process optimization thing. It probably comes from J. Edward Deming, which I may have heard about from Jay Abraham. But it's simply just working out what is the fastest, simplest linear progression from here to where we want to get to.
No, which
now, if you're talking about
fantastic,
software, it would be that the software does what it says on the tin. And it says it'll do this, this, and this. That's really creating a promise. And then you go in and do this, this, and this, and you get this and this result, and that's staying on track.
Hmm. And what if it's and I'm just asking for the sake of the community, because there might be different kind of subscriptions that people may be looking at creating. So let's say if somebody doesn't really want to do masterminds, which also could be time intensive, and do clarify if it is time intensive, but at the same point in time, somebody just wants to create a lot of content and deliver it to the audience, maybe not a lot, but whatever is required to get results. How would you do that? Because people will have different starting points. In mastermind, you can kind of figure out, because you'll have that one-on-one conversation. But let's say it's a $300 a month mastermind, or a $100 a month mastermind, where there could be all kinds of people coming in, and you wouldn't really know where they are starting. It's pretty hard to identify that and set a path for them, more than just identifying.
Well, that's the error that I was talking about. If someone just wants to create a lot of content, well, good on them, but that's not a profitable business model. I don't care what they want. It's not important to the customer. It's irrelevant.
Exactly. Yep.
Then they can be an artist and create all they want, but they're going to be a poor artist, like most people who have this great idea or they want to publish a book. That's the wrong motivation. The only motivation that matters is, what result can I help someone get that solves their problem that they see value in? That's all that matters. So I do have such a community. I have for over 1,000 members of Superfast Business, which is a $79 a month community. And there are tracks in there which are segmented by interest. And typically it's how you frame the membership on the way in, is almost setting a mental expectation of the tracks, so that when people come in, they get what they expected. One of the most important things that I offer in there is me answering questions every day. They can come in, I answer their questions, they get an answer from someone who's been there and done it before. So if they were to use some of the tools that I provide, which one of them is to post their monthly actions, what they'd like to have achieved by the end of this month, that is literally setting a track to the end of the month. And then we see how they went. And if they get off track, then I'll call them on it. I'll help them and support them. And if they ask a question, I answer it. So if they feel they're getting off track, they can get course correction before the end of the month. So that's one way that it could be done. I'm sure there's 100 ways. But we need to remove this notion that we just want to create content. It's not good enough. It doesn't cut it.
That is so true. That is so true. Just as a follow-up question, so let's say you've laid down these tracks and you're really following up with people. I know in the starting of the presentation you said you're investing only about 24 hours a week or something like that in your business, which is fantastic. But how do you, and maybe I'm just jumping the gun here, and maybe I should just let you continue with the presentation and I can ask this as a follow-up question. But I would love to know, how do you organize yourself in a way that you could actually follow up with so many people? Because there are 1,000 people in your continuity of $79, and then there's a mastermind that you have to take care of as well. That seems to be a lot of people to engage with in only 25 hours.
It is, but that's why you need to firstly do one-to-many. Secondly, you need to be a master of personal organization, and there's 5 things that I could suggest that will help people be extremely well organized, and that might be a topic for another day.
Sure.
That's something that I specialize at, and I teach my students, is how they can stop doing most of the things they're doing. Like if you just look at Pareto's principle, 80% of the results come from 20% of the work, right?
Yep.
So if you 80-20 that top 20%, do you know what number you get? If you just did 4% of the stuff that you do right now, you'll actually get 64% of the results you're getting right now. So for most people, they're not doing the right things. So it's about doing the right things. It's about time partitioning and pure focus. It's about having a few little systems or routine rules that allow you to be productive. But in my case, I have peer-to-peer coaching. I have members helping each other. So that was one of the giveaways that helps there in the multi-community. I do run live training once a month, so that's an actual time commitment for me. The rest of the time, I'm posting to the forum at my own schedule. It could be in the morning, it could be at night, but I do it every day. It might be for 20 minutes, it could be for an hour. But even if you posted for an hour every day, that's 7 hours a week. I don't work 7 days a week generally. I'd like to have the weekends off these days. But the thing is, with the mastermind, I can coach 30 or 40 people on a few set calls per week in a one-to-many environment rather than one-on-one. Where most people get burnt out is they're trying to do one-to-one coaching. That's hardly ever a great idea unless you're making a huge hourly rate. It's not effective. So what I like to do is work out the monthly profit, divide that by the time that I'm working, and I end up with an effective hourly rate. And I only do activities that have a high effective hourly rate.
That is a great idea. I do the same practice, and I know some of my friends follow the same principles, is to know your effective hourly rate.
If you don't want to use your time, you just buy other people's time. I mean, we're serving 500 customers with our other services, but I have a team of 50. And I've had that team for coming up to 5 years soon. And that team are highly trained. They know exactly what they're doing. They have systems for everything. The customer's dealing with them. And most parts of the processes are automated, which is actually one of the last points here. And I now just focus on dealing with the managers each week. And I've got that down to about 15 minutes per manager, and I've got 6 primary managers. So there's, I can fit 4 managers per hour. I can get that dealt with in an hour and a half per week. And I can assure you that can only be done if you've spent a good decade managing managers, as I have. So, I could teach on a topic like that as well for an entire presentation. So I'm what you would call a generalist. And today we're just slicing into my business model, but there are components that you need to make this work at the level that I'm doing it. And I'm talking 7-figure profit. That's what I help my students with. But I'm giving you the overview, and I'm giving you some really big nuggets. A couple more. One is to use case studies. This works so well because it's what I was talking about before. You're focusing on the result the customer wants. And it's very good for your prospects to see that your customers are getting results. That does all the selling you could ever need. My most effective podcast is purely case studies. All I do each week is we share a case study of a student of me or my co-host on that podcast. We talk about where they were at, what they did, what they changed, and then the result they got. And that generates sales for us. So case studies are a really great way to move people into a subscription or a membership. It's important you have a success capture system. And for me, I have my students are more than willing to send me videos because they're so delighted about doubling or tripling or quadrupling their profit. They do it. I don't have to ask them. In my general community, we have a success thread or forum where people can share their wins. And that's very energizing for the other members to see proof of concept, to see that the results happen. And just before we close, automate. There are a lot of steps you can automate, especially the sales funnel. Things like checkout abandonments. You can follow up with sequences. You can team automate your workflow. So again, my main focus these days is on content creation or content provision. I'm either answering questions or creating content to acquire customers. That's my main role in the business. And all of the production happens with the team. All of the publishing, most of the syndication happens via the team. My main role is to just create, like literally record with a microphone or a camera some content or to answer my customers' questions. The service businesses runs mostly by itself through human, chain of command and systems. If you're going to sell affiliate stuff, bonus it with your own products, and then off the back of your own product, offer a trial period into your community. That's worked really well for me, and that's a huge tip there. I want to leave this with 2 important facts. We're talking about taking a snowflake and rolling it down the mountain. It will turn into a big snowball. It's not going to be instant, but it's very powerful, and it's significant when you get this working. And as you alluded to earlier, if you can combine modules, as this is what my business looks like. Again, I drew this, so excuse the graphics. Customer support in the middle there. You've got your database and your service hub in the middle, and then your customer can experience the various segments of your business. I call this the chocolate wheel. This is the concept I learnt from the Mercedes-Benz dealership that I used to work at. Is customers come in for one thing, but they might need another. Many of my community customers also buy my services and my affiliate recommendations, and then some of them go on to join my mastermind. And certainly a lot of my mastermind students are heavy service users and also buy my affiliate recommendations. So I can get a very high yield per customer. I think my average customer value is in excess of $1,700. So that means that my customers and I are going to have a long, sustained relationship, because I'm always obsessively focusing on how they can get a result. And if I can do that, they're going to stick around. That leads us to our question time.
That's absolutely fantastic, James. I think people are going to get a ton of value out of this training. One last question that I have for you, because I think we covered a lot of questions and we are running out of time. We've talked for over 50 minutes, which is fantastic. One of my last questions that I have for you is, how do you, and I know you said that it could be a full-on presentation, but maybe you can just give a few nuggets, because I'm sure that after looking at this presentation, everybody's going, how do I create a mastermind? How do I create this? How can I add all these different layers into my business? But it could be overwhelming. It could be something that you might go, oh shit, I've just got so much information. How and what's my first step? So if you could help us, just say the next 5 first steps that person can take and go, okay, work on this first and then this and then this. Like you said, and we'll love to have you back sometime soon on just educating our client, our people here on how to really be extremely productive. But we'll love to get some nuggets so people don't get overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that you just shared, and actually have their first few steps kind of defined so they can see what they should be doing.
Right. Well, step 1 is join my program, because I'll just help you. Step 2, I can tell you where most entrepreneurs are stuck. I can guarantee you it's in their inbox. They have signed up for every marketer known to man because they bought a product and they got promoted to every joint venture launch, as I was talking about, mistake before. They're doing this because they think they're going to miss out, or they want to see what someone's doing. These are the excuses people make. The reality is they're spending 5 to 6 hours every day dredging through the inbox, following links, getting overwhelmed and confused in days. And they do this because they don't have clear priorities. They have not set the objective. They don't know what station they're going to, and they have not laid tracks. That means that anything that comes along looks good. But if you've set tracks, it's really easy to say, well, that's not where I'm on track for. I'll review that in 12 weeks from now. So you want to set milestones. You need to set 12-week deadlines so that you can block out and filter out opportunities. I think opportunities is a dirty word for an entrepreneur. It's the biggest distractor and thief of reality. What you need to do is buckle down on just having a very clear target, commit to 12 weeks to getting that happening, and focus on each step that needs to happen to get there. So it starts with the inbox. You need to delete, purge, unsubscribe, and get that distraction away from you, because until you stop consuming and start creating, you won't move forward. So that's number 1. Number 2 is you need to schedule the time that you're going to work on the business, and you need to schedule the time that you're not going to be working on the business. Most entrepreneurs are putting in massive hourly weeks. They think they're busy, but they're not productive, probably have poor diet, don't sleep enough, and when they are working, they're not thinking well. So use a tool like Schedule Once or Time Trade to block the times that you want to talk to someone, which means by default that when you're not talking to them, that's your time. It's time to recharge, time to focus, time to think, time to plan. Keep an eye on how many hours you're working. You can sign up for Rescue Time, and it will send you a weekly summary of the time you spend on the computer and where you spend it. And be accountable to yourself. If the time's too low, maybe you're not moving forward fast enough. If it's too high, then you're not being effective. And if you're spending all your time watching cat videos on YouTube, then you're not going to get this recurring subscription happening anytime soon. So be accountable to yourself with that. And something that's worked probably the most for my students is, aside from setting very clear objectives and getting my help, is journaling. That's a daily note of what you actually did today. A self-accountability tool that gives you extreme focus on how your performance was. If you get to the end of the day and you did nothing, then you'll get nothing. You get to the end of the day, you created some content, you organized for your membership to be constructed, you joined a training program that has specific steps that you can follow, then that's a productive day.
That's absolutely fantastic. One of the best things that I have done for myself is to follow schedules, is to just have everything. You know what happens is, let's say somebody just will watch this presentation right now and go, okay, let me run back to my computer and create my first subscription program right now. And what happens when you do that is you're not really following a schedule. Whereas what I would do usually is I would say, okay, that's a great idea. Let me log that in my journal, and let me log that in my idea file or Evernote or whatever is the note-taking device that you use. I use Journal, and I know that I'm going to come back to it when I'm doing my strategy, because there is an existing strategy that probably is already anyways going to work. Because, I mean, there are many ways of making a business work, right? This is one of them. It's a great one. So definitely everybody should do it, but then there are others too. And so what people tend to do is they choose intensity over schedule, because they just right now got this idea and somebody said it's the greatest product and the greatest new tactic, you know. And tactics take us and just rob us of what we could really be doing on a long term and really make a business that truly fits the lifestyle that we want and truly fits the goals that we have and truly serve the clients. Just because we get fascinated by these ideas that people share, instead of just saying, okay, that's a great idea, I would love to take that to my business, but not right now. Let me just write it down and come back to it when I am doing my monthly strategy or bi-weekly strategy, based on how your business and how often your business needs strategy, because it allows the idea to sink in, and secondly, for you to just go in and schedule that idea. So that way you're not getting overwhelmed, because it's a lot about state management as well, right? So that is a fantastic idea. I think this podcast is going to help a lot of people. Thank you so much, James, for coming online. This is absolutely wonderful what you shared. Thank you for pouring your heart out. To get more from James, you can always visit superfastbusiness.com. That's the domain on your screen right now. It's www.superfastbusiness.com to get more information from James. Thank you so much, James.
Thanks for hosting.
Thanks. Bye. Have a good day.